Although it's not going to be the most forgiving setup with the wind, this kind of setup fits perfectly with the chaos of the rut. A narrow thermal hub with multiple ridges and drainages dumping into it can be one of the most productive rut zones that you're going to find in hill country. When you can visualize several trails or travel routes converging from one ridge to another within a tight bottom, you found the kind of place where anything can happen fast. These hubs are the intersections of hill country where deer traveling from multiple directions meet up. And when the rut is in full swing, that chaos is exactly what makes these places so good. Now this video is part of my Hill Country Rut Terrain series. It's a collection of short tactical breakdowns where I'm going to show you how to identify and hunt 5 different key terrain features that are always consistent for rut activity. Now if you missed the first 4 videos of this series on saddles, ridge points, drainage tops, and benches, I'll go ahead and list those and the rest of the series in the description down below. But today we're going to wrap things up by breaking down thermal hubs. Why they attract so much deer activity, what separates a huntable hub from an unpredictable one, and how I like to hunt them when the rut is at its peak. So let's dive in. A thermal hub is the bottom of a system where multiple ridges and drainages converge down into one single point, a low spot where everything comes together. Think of this as the intersection of the hills. It's where deer movement from several directions naturally funnels down and where rising and falling thermals pull scent from all of those ridges into that one central area. And because of that, deer use these hubs heavily for both communication and travel, especially during the rut. You're often going to find multiple scrapes, rub lines, and a convergence of trails all meeting up in one area. But not all hubs are created equal. The best ones are narrow and steep, where the terrain pinches that movement into a tighter space. The wider and more open hubs might still get a ton of deer activity, but their movement is going to be scattered and trying to control your scent is almost impossible. The tighter and more defined that your hub is, the higher your odds are to see predictable daylight activity. Now the first thing that makes this hub so effective is all of the terrain dumping into it. Small points, steep drainages, and multiple side ridges all funnel down into this one area. Each of those routes represents a potential travel line for bucks, and when they all converge here, it becomes a natural hotspot for rut activity. The second factor is cover. This hub is thick and loaded with security cover, and that is the exact thing that encourages a lot of daylight activity. Bucks feel a lot safer slipping from one ridge to the next while staying within that security cover. The hub is also very narrow, which means I can anticipate where movement is going to happen instead of trying to cover this wide, unpredictable bottom. That condensed terrain is going to give me a realistic bow hunting window where it would otherwise be difficult to hunt this feature. And then of course we have the chaos of the rut itself. When a hot doe runs through a hub like this, it's not uncommon to see a flow of bucks piling in behind her, all using those same connecting drainages. That's what makes these places so special. They thrive in the chaos of November. Now there's no reason to try to sugarcoat this. Your scent is going to be your biggest challenge when hunting a thermal hub. It's never going to be perfect down here, but there are certain things you can do to make it more manageable. And that's exactly why I like to target those narrow hubs instead of the wider ones. The steeper walls create a more consistent thermal pull, keeping your scent moving out of the center more predictably. Now I don't expect there to be zero swirl even in these narrow hubs, but at least I can count on a little bit of stability. For my access, I prefer to come in from the wider end of the drainage and work towards that narrower pinch where I plan to set up. That's going to keep the main crossings and deer movement out in front of me and my ground scent away from where I expect the deer to travel. And when I'm actually looking for the setup, I'm always keeping my eye out for some type of a natural barrier. This can be a blowdown, a wall of brush, or even a steep cut in the creek. Something that's going to help keep deer movement in front of me and prevent them from slipping behind my wind. And in thicker bottoms like this, I also like to stay a little bit lower in the tree so that way I have a more clear shot window and my silhouette is protected by that cover. Even with the best setup that you can imagine, this hunt is still going to be a gamble, but that's exactly what makes hunting these thermal hubs so exciting during the rut. If there's going to be any place in hill country where that chaos works in your favor, it's here. So that's going to be a look at how I like to hunt thermal hubs during the rut. They can be unpredictable, messy, but when you find the right one with multiple ridges feeding in, thick cover, and just enough consistency in the thermals, they can be absolute gold during the peak unique rut. Now, every terrain feature that I'm going to cover in this series plays a different role in how bucks travel during the rut in hill country, but when you understand how they all work together, that is when you turn your random encounters into predictable opportunities. Now, if you found this breakdown helpful, make sure that you subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on future series drops, and be sure to check out the rest of the Hill Country Rut Terrain series. I'll link that in the description below. Thank you all for watching, and best of luck this November chasing those hill country bucks.